ask, why did he say that? Number one, to see where his hope was, and also, too, to let him know that you already got the power to be healed. You have to change the way you think. And so what I'm telling you today is that if you want to be better, just be better. If you want to be healthier, just be better. Stop. No disrespect to anybody with different creams. Stop looking outside and spending all this money on all this stuff when all you got to do is really look within. And then if you don't know how to do that, that's where somebody like me, I'm a doctor, but I consider myself more of a health coach than anything. Because I try to take you by the hand and I say, look, let's do this. And I got that from my grandfather. What you see here is the product of the conversations that we had. And my grandfather was probably one of the largest African-American farmers in the state of North Carolina. And so what he did is he was like, man, number one, don't have your wife in there working with you. All these different things. Don't do this, don't do this. So it still rings in my head, all these conversations. But what I'm saying all that to say is like, you can be as healthy as you want to be. You decide as you want to be. Just like if you want to be successful, pick up your mat and be successful. Stop making excuses for stuff that's not working in your life, or stop doing this. Like, one of the things as a doctor that we hate, and especially me, I can't speak for other people, is that people put their responsibility, their health on me. It's not my responsibility. I give you all the tools that you're supposed to do, and if you do it, you will get better. I don't know to what degree, but you will get better. So my thing is, pick up your palate and be healthy. Okay, and that's from John 5, 1 through 9, I think, something like that. But that's one of the things if you want to research that. But that sheep pool. Stop waiting for everybody else. Oh, I was going to get here, the traffic. Oh, I was going to do this. Now my dog died. We had to put the dog down. And I just was upset. All these different things. That's all part of life. We all deal with stuff. You know what I'm saying? But we got to move on. But one thing that I want to talk about today is it's February. It's Heart Health Month. It's heart. If this ever stops, you in trouble.
That's it.
You're in trouble. So what we got to do today, we're going to talk about how to keep it moving. So one of the things I want to talk about real quick, and I'm going to go through this before I get to the heart, is a pump. It's about the size of your fist. So if you ball your fist up like this, unless you got congestive heart failure, then it's a different story. But it's about the size of your fist. It sits slightly to the left side of your chest. And then what it does is it has a right and a left side. And that right and left side is basically comprised of an atrium and a ventricle. So you have a right ventricle and a left ventricle. A right atrium and a left ventricle. Now the right side pumps heart to your lungs, puts blood to your lungs. Oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange. The left side of the heart, which is the stronger part of the heart, pushes blood all the way through the rest of your body. Goes down to the aorta, supplies your legs and all these different things. This all makes sense in a second. That heart in between each chamber has valves. Tricuspid valve, mitral, pulmonary, and aortic. Some of y'all already had some valve issues. If you live a little bit, sometimes that stuff might not work the way it is. And doctors go in and replace that. Every time your heart beats, that valve opens and closes on each side. Does it make sense? This is how amazing our body is. So the heart contracts and it relaxes. That's what we call systole and diastole. Right? So contraction is the systole. That's the top number. That's where the heart has the most pressure. When you take your blood pressure, that top number, what should it be?
120.
At least 120. Anything around 120 is optimal. Now they're saying like 130 and below, above 130 is considered hypertension. The relaxation part is the diastole. That right there is when the heart relaxes. Now, if we go one slide forward, it's an electrical wiring that keeps it together, which is called an SA node, which is like a pacemaker to the heart. And some of us, our pacemakers don't work like they should because that electrical impulse isn't getting there, and then it might throw your heartbeat off a little bit. And then they go in, they put a pacemaker, okay? Right. Some of you might have that, right? So how that works is it looks like this, and it's all those valves are opening and closing. Wow. I mean, it's just amazing to sit there and look at that, right? Yeah. And you see how this works. So blood is flying, going in, coming out, and it's just circulating everything. And that little thing is about the size of your fist. It sits right there and it's doing all this work. And it starts from the time you conceive all the way to the time, and it never stops. Right? Doesn't it make sense to take care of that? Which one of these is a healthy heart?
The right.
The left.
The left.
Which one is your right? What is this healthy?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's
blood.
not
Got
there.
blood.
Why is it this healthy?
There's no blood in
It's
it.
crusty, it's dried up, right?
Dried up.
When a heart doesn't get as much blood supply as it
Like
needs,
bread,
what is that
like
called?
chicken.
It's chicken. It looks like chicken. Well, if a heart doesn't get as much blood supply as it needs, it's called a heart attack.
Yeah.
If the brain doesn't get the blood supply that it needs, if it's starved from blood supply, it's called a stroke. Right? So you got two different things. They work together with heart disease. Now, number one things and how that happens is angina is like the precursor. How many of y'all experience angina or chest pain? Have you ever had it? If you haven't, like where you had a chest pain, usually that's the forewarning of a heart attack. That's when that left arm starts to hurt. That's when they say you're having a heart attack or you're about to have a heart attack. That's when you need to go to the hospital. Don't go take a nap. Don't sit down and watch Judge Judy, all these different shows. Go to the hospital. That's when the arteries usually block. Stable, unstable. And then what happens, the interesting thing I want to point out right here, heart attacks are fatal when 40% of the muscle on the left side is the strongest part and it pumps to the rest of the body. If 40% of that is actually blocked, it's fatal. That's what takes you out of here. That's when people go in, they have quadruple bypasses, those arteries get clogged up, and then what happens, they got like 10% circulating through there, it's 90% clogged, 80% clogged, and they want to go in and put stents in now and all this stuff. But what happens with a lot of people is they don't change their lifestyle. And then all you're doing is you're just bandaging the problem. So one of the things we're going to talk about today to do that. Some of the causes, there are many different kinds. The two most common are atherosclerosis, which is fatty plaques from the food we eat, the fried food, and that can be vegan food too. So don't think you vegans are out of the water just because you don't eat meat. So one of the things it is, that's when fatty plaques, they line the arteries, they just float around in and they can block stuff. The other thing is arterial sclerosis. That's when it actually starts to get hard. That's when it's really hard to control your blood pressure because your blood vessels, your arteries don't contract and relax like they should. They just stay tight. And that's something that kind of comes with age when you lose the elasticity around the blood vessels. Now, some other things that can do it, what you're going to talk about is obesity, being overweight, an unhealthy diet, lack of exercise, smoking, excess alcohol and caffeine use, drug use, over-the-counter medications, dietary supplements, and stress. Let me ask you this. How can excess alcohol and caffeine cause the heart to not work right? And we got wine here. Speeds it up. No, too much alcohol is really high in bad fat. And what happens is people that drink lots of alcohol actually cause more damage. So this is the thing. There's nothing in the Bible that says we can't drink. There's nothing wrong with having a glass of wine with dinner. Right? That's actually good for you. And that's really big on the Mediterranean diet, which is one of the only diets that actually has the highest research rate. That actually, those people live a long, healthy life with a lot of heart disease. They used to die from other stuff. The other one that I want to look at too is the overweight, the obesity.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Would you repeat that again? The wine is good for you?
In
Moderation. A little bit.
Glass. And when we talk about a glass, no more than about 8 ounces. And women, let me say this. Men can have like 1 to 2 drinks a night. Women can only have 1. Why can women have less? Not smaller is part of it, but the other thing, no, one of the reasons women can have less, your bodies, they just don't process stuff like men do as much as women. Not to saying that you gotta need more cognitive stuff in here, but the thing about it is, not saying it's a good thing, but women tend to, they just have a hard time breaking stuff down like that. So women actually require they drink less, so it's like 1 glass of wine a night. When a man can take more, and it's different, the muscle strength, a lot of factors that go into that. Now, obesity, 1/3 of people are obese and 2/3 are overweight. There's a difference between obesity and being overweight. There's people too, one of the things that I want to say too, you can be skinny fat. That's one of the reasons why we did that challenge called Drop That Fat Challenge, because you got people that can be slim like myself, but actually have a lot of fat inside that you don't see. And those are people that can also be diabetic. They can also have high blood pressure. They just don't show it with just fat around on the outside. So you got to look at these different things. What we're doing now is we're watching more TV, we're eating out more. I mean, I look at my own family. I remember growing up with my mother, cooked all the time. When I go home to visit, you want Chipotle? You want to do this? I mean, it's just like nobody wants to cook anymore. Lifestyles are changing. So now, that's one of the things why now we're eating out. You got to try to eat as healthy as you can. And we're gonna kind of go over that in a little bit. The other thing too is on and off dieting or unbalanced metabolism. When you try a diet for 3 weeks, or you try this fast for this, and you don't do this, that's why I don't believe in dieting. You have to do a lifestyle change. You have to change the way that you eat permanently. It's not just say, I'm going to do this for 3 weeks so I can lose 20 pounds because I got to go to my niece's wedding or something like that. You got to actually do it for your lifestyle. And then the second thing right here is obesity causes chronic inflammation, which elevates your CRPs. If you had any blood work, one of the main questions that you need to look for is your CRP, and that's a C-reactive protein. That tells the body how much inflammation is in it, okay? So if we look right here, these are the two types of body types that we see commonly with men and women. You got the apple or you got the pear shape. Women tend to have the pear shape because of the hormones. When your estrogen levels go up and progesterone goes down or vice versa, they tend to gain weight in the legs more. Men tend to gain weight when they lose testosterone around the belly fat. If any man has a lot of belly fat or stomach sticks out, their testosterone is lower automatically. So it's not even about weight. It's really about body fat percentage. You have to get that body fat percentage down. That's where you're leaner. Your stomach is more flatter. You can still be the same weight, but you can lose those inches. So we got to pay attention to that. And then the other thing too with that too is you're more likely to develop all these things because your body has to work harder. This is an example of a body scan of a fat or obese person versus a person that's not so much. Do you see how that body has to work harder?
Oh, yeah.
And then not only that, they're carrying around more weight on the joints. You can actually see the disc on the knees closer together. One of the first things that I say with people that come in with knee problems, you know what the first thing you need to do? You need to lose weight. You need to lose weight. Why? Because you're going to take less pressure off here, especially even in the low back, around up in here. Now, why make your body work harder? You know, just make some changes and we get it right here. So the second thing we look at too, we're going to talk about diabetes mellitus. By 2050, 1 out of every 3 people will be type 2 diabetic. That's the type of diabetes that we actually get from the fork. Like type 1 is what you're born where your body doesn't produce enough insulin. You have to take insulin and regulate your blood sugar. Type 2 is skyrocketing. And guess what type 2 does? What does it affect? What does it affect? What does a diabetes affect in general? Everything. Everything. 2 out of 3 people will die from it. They develop at younger ages. Type 1 is autoimmune disease. Type 2, you know, over the years, it's causing more people to do it. But what it's going to do is it's going to affect the eyes and the kidneys. One of the top reasons why people are going on dialysis so much is because they can't control their blood sugar. It will destroy the small blood vessels in the kidneys. If you retired people in here, if you got some stuff in your stock, buy some in some dialysis centers or something because they're popping up everywhere. And people just don't want to change. They'd rather go get hooked up to a machine 3 to 4 times a week than put down the fried food and lose weight. Do you know what that is? That's almost like depression. Then you sit around other depressed people. Hey, you're watching these crazy movies on TV, and then you're in a cycle. You're getting hooked up in there, and then you have an injection. Then next thing you know, then one missing the next month, and the next month somebody else missing. Oh, he died. Oh, that's just a common thing, right? So when you look at these different things right here, one of the first things that you can tell is when your eyes start to go. Why is it the eyes? Why is it the eyes and the toes and the feet? They start getting numbness. Circulation, but why? The blood vessels are smaller. So think about diabetes like this. Diabetes is little pieces of glass floating around in your bloodstream. And it is causing havoc over your, so the longer that you have it, little pieces of glass just tearing your body up in the inside. Guess what? The capillaries, and when they go in the oxygen, it gets stuck in there in the bloodstream, the small blood vessels, and it destroys the eyes. It can destroy the fingertips, the feeling. It can destroy the feet, and then the kidneys, and also the nerves, which they call a condition called diabetic neuropathy. That's when people can't feel. I've had a patient that go in, and I've had young guys, my age, even younger than me, they end up going to the hospital because they don't feel good, and they turn out their blood sugar is 600. 600. 40-year-old guys, 30-some-year-old guys, and these different things. This is an example of what that happens. You know how many people in this office don't have toes? You know how many people in this office, when I take their shoes off and we scan their feet and we check their balance, they don't have toes because they've had chronic diabetes. And most of the time, I've had one patient that had a party at his house, cleaning up after the party, stepped on a toothpick and lost 4 toes. 4 toes. Because he didn't feel anything. So when you looking at these different things, I want you to have a mental image. I'm trying to actually scare you straight. Right? So I want you to, that donut, you going in Roseland and you stop by Old Fashioned, you're going to just keep going. Don't buy the donuts, right? See, I see these things that we all know. Except if you Avis and your cheat day, right? So the other thing you got to look at here is the second thing is high blood pressure, right? This is when you call left ventricular hypertrophy. Remember, we got 4 chambers of the heart: the atrium, the ventricle, right and left side. The left ventricle hypertrophy, thickening that heart muscle, is less effective, so the heart doesn't relax as much between the blood, the pulses, the contractions. And so when that happens, is that can be broken. There's 2 different types of blood pressures: ischemic and hypertensive. The most common is hypertensive. If you have swelling in your ankles, that's a warning sign. You can walk around feeling good. I feel good. My ankles just swell a little bit. Your heart is not functioning right. Unless you broke your ankle or something. And if you didn't break your ankle, then we got to look at your heart. So those are different things right here. This is when it's a large heart. Fluid flows in the lower extremities, and then you have to put on compression stockings to keep the swelling down. And then when other things happen too, ischemic is not so common, but it's a lot more common. That's when the heart is not getting enough blood, usually risk of atherosclerosis. So those are different factors you want to look at. Most people end up with hypertension. Ask your doctor these questions. My new series is coming out, and it's going to be called Hacking Healthcare. I'm going to give you a list of questions to ask your doctor. I'm going to give you a list of questions I want you to ask your doctor. And I want you to go in there. He's like, can we have a partnership? I gave them to you, right? Can we have a partnership? Do you feel about taking natural vitamins before I start taking medication? What if I was to lose 20 pounds before I happen with this stuff? A lot of times we go to the doctor, they say, here, take this, you're going to take it.
Right.
And they can say, this could cause death, all these different things. Still, the doctor said, take it.
Right.
The doctor probably taking it himself. That's one thing I always say with me. It's very important for me to be congruent with what I'm talking about. So when I'm looking at these different things, I'm actually going through the same thing because the pressure going to burst pipes. If your blood pressure is chronically high, what can that cause? Stroke. The number one thing you think. Guess who has the worst outcomes of stroke? Black people. Guess where? The south side of Chicago. One of my good friends, Dr. Neelam, is one of the head chief neurologists at Rush. And we do Walk with the Doc program every third Friday at the Croc at 11 o'clock if you're ever interested in that. And one of the things that we talk about is the outcomes between the north side and the south side of people with strokes. The people with strokes on the south side, it's 90% worse because of the fact that, and guess when the busiest time usually is in the hospital?
Christmas
After
time.
4 o'clock.
Oh, after 4 o'clock.
The shows come off. People can have a stroke and they will sit down and watch TV.
Wow.
Yeah. Or I think I'm having a headache. If you have any kind of signs, and they call it FAST, facial slurring, that arm pain, speech slurring, or facial falling, speech slurring, and then you got time. You only got a certain amount of time before you can reverse it. If you get there early enough, they can reverse it, but if not, you'll be sitting down somewhere pushing you around forever, or you lose the function of your arm. So remember, pressure busts pipes. That's why you can't have chronically high blood pressure. The other thing that happens with that too is that one of the number one reasons why they have dialysis centers is people with chronic high blood pressure. You can't control it. It blows out the kidneys. It will blow out the kidneys. The function of the kidneys goes down. And then they give you these water pills that deplete your potassium, your magnesium, a lot of these other things cause impotency in males. It's all these different things, these side effects of these medications just to do something that you can get your body to do itself. And that's why I do this stuff. So high cholesterol is another one. There's a big thing about cholesterol, but the cholesterol is important. You actually need cholesterol because it helps to make vitamin D and other hormones in the body. So the way that you think about cholesterol is this. LDL brings the cholesterol to the body. That's the bad cholesterol. LDL, low density lipoprotein, is the bad cholesterol. What that does is that you eat stuff, it goes into your bloodstream, it's floating around in the body. The HDL, which is the high density lipoprotein, which is the good cholesterol, is like a cleaner. So what it does is it goes through and it gets all the bad cholesterol, takes it back to the liver, processes it, and brush it out. That's why you gotta watch the fatty foods. If you're gonna do the Harold's chicken, let it be once a year. Don't go get that every Friday. If you're gonna stop at Popeyes and sit in line for them sandwiches, don't do that every day. I'm not saying you can't have that stuff, but you gotta start weaning yourself off of it because this is one of the reasons that we happen. Number one drug they put you on when you have high cholesterol is what? Statins. The side effects of statins are crazy. Crazy. It's worse than the blood pressure stuff. So one of the things you got to do is you got to look at it. So we get cholesterol. They make it difficult for that to happen. It causes heart disease. B claims it can destroy the liver. Heart disease, it happens. So one of the things, first signs that you can show when people start having heart disease is number one, they can have good blood pressure. They can have all these different things, but they can have memory problems. Why do you get memory problems? Because the blood flow isn't going to the brain. It's starting to plaque. They can have calcification plaques in the brain. They can start developing lesions. The other thing is mental confusion. What's going up right now as far as the brain? Dementia and Alzheimer's.
Right. That's right.
Crazy sky rates. And one of the things is, look at this, the vision starts to fade. Sexual dysfunction. The number one thing is, say with males, if you wake up in the morning without an erection, you need to go to the doctor. Because the simple thing is, that means that the blood is not circulating right, or your hormone levels are off, so you want to get this stuff checked out before it turns into a whole nother problem. See, this is the thing, people, the signs are there. We just sometimes don't know what the signs are, or we just don't pay attention to them. So when people say, well, I just walked out of the office with a clean bill of health, that's one of the things that happens. They always feel tired. All these different things happen. The signs are there. You just choose to ignore them. And then we go in the doctor and say, I don't know what happened. I just woke up and this happened to me. Now, it doesn't work like that, so we got to look at this. Now, what I look at here and what I deal with is this. Why am I showing you this nervous system? Because this controls everything. The way your body works is that brain sends messages down, and that comes down to the vagus nerve, which controls that heart. The vagus nerve is so important that it needs the proper nerve supply. So when people start having heart palpitations, they start having all these other issues going on with the body, we got to look at the spine because that's the root of most diseases. As a chiropractor, people's like, oh, you're going to crack my bones, doc, or you're going to do this? No, I'm going to take pressure off this nerve so that that nerve can get the signal to that organ that it's supposed to. Because if it doesn't get the signal to that nerve that organ is supposed to, it's not going to work. One of the common things that you can look at too, first thing that you notice is some people have, when they have like pain coming from the neck, or they don't have pain coming from the neck, but they notice they go to open a bottle of water and they can't, their grip strength is gone. That's because pressure is being put on those nerves that supply the hand. Now imagine if that's your heart. Now your heart is not at 100% function. See, we have something that flows through this. I saw a t-shirt the other day that says God flows through the nervous system. That's what controls everything in your body. In the medical profession, and the chiropractic especially, we call it innate intelligence. So that energy flows down through that nervous system, keeping all those organs alive and working and well. And if those signals don't get there, they don't work properly. So you can be working on dysfunction for so many years and not even know it. And that's one of the reasons why we got to really wake up and look at these things. So what that subluxation does is that's like a shift in a vertebrae that puts pressure on that nerve and that decreases that function. It's called a subluxation. It shifts and it puts pressure on those nerves. And that can come from looking at your cell phone, laying in the bed, playing Candy Crush, and all these things at night, right? Now, I can also look at getting in car accidents, you walking. And so when you look at these things right here, I'm a big stickler of posture. One of the ways that I look at you and I can tell if you got pressure, even if you don't have anything wrong, I can almost tell you. If I look at you and you're standing like this and like this, you got pressure on this nervous system. If I look at you and you like this, the one side, you walk, Doc, I'm good. Okay, okay. I don't know where you're getting this from. That's not it right. So you want to have nice, proper structure. So I really, when you talk about like, what do? I actually keep this from collapsing to actually keep that working right. So it's not about bones per se, because they have two functions. Number one functions of the skeletal system is to keep you upright and to protect the organs and stuff inside your body. And that's it. But otherwise, right here, everything else has to keep working, so we got to keep those nerves moving. If these individual vertebrae don't move, you in trouble. That's why most of my patients now are seniors and retired. They done worked all this time, they never paid attention to certain stuff, and now all of a sudden they see that if that nerve, if that put pressure on that nerve, that's not gonna work. And they said, Doc, can you help me get this right? And I said, man, what we're gonna do is we're gonna keep your spine from collapsing by helping to provide it strength. The best insurance policy that you can have is not Blue Cross Blue Shield. It is not Medicare. It is not your supplement. It is strength. If you do not have strength in this spine, it will collapse and you will start doing this. Now, God forsaken that you got some knee issues or you got some ankle issues. Now you walking like this. Now you turn around and that's going to shift everything else up. So we got to make sure this is right. That's why I always go back to that. So this is an example right here what function looks like and what dysfunction looks like. This is severe arthritis in the generation. This is one of them people you call their name, they be like, hey, That's Deacon Tom in church, right? Hey,
You know what's up?
okay, he can't move, but he's strong. Right? So it's a quick message, real quick, right here for my little guy. I think we all need a pep talk. Not spinal bifida, but it's a brittle bone because he breaks bones easy. And so what happens is he'll break like 4 bones a day. And it's some kind of disorder. It's a genetic thing. But his messages are amazing. He met Obama, he met the presidents and stuff. But he's just such a powerful kid. And it's like, if we listen, man, there's a lot of wisdom in there. It's like it's really simple. As we adults, we're too busy for simpler. We like to make stuff complicated. We like to take the long route instead of short route. But really, just get up and make something awesome. And I just kind of wanted to share that today. So let's make something awesome. So number 1, you got to adopt the chiropractic lifestyle. I'm not saying that because I'm a chiropractor. I wasn't always a chiropractor. I was in the pharmaceutical industry. I used to go around and make drugs and actually get them out to the community. But the thing about it is I understand when I went to a chiropractor, I understand how my body works and how we help you express 100% innate intelligence. 100% expression is different for you, Ms. Adams, than it versus for you. Everybody's different. It's like your thumbprint. But the whole goal is, the problem with the medical community is they treat everybody the same. They say we have 20 African American females, they're all from this age to this age. It's all the same, but it doesn't work for everybody. That's why it's a big thing about functional medicine, which we do here, and we help you with those different things. And transmission. The second thing is that you got to look after your mental health. This is the biggest. Now, one of the things I always talk about with the nervous system is you got 2 different nervous systems in one. And it's called, one is a sympathetic nervous system and one is a parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is fight or flight. That's like, okay, a dog is chasing me, I gotta go. Let's go. Yeah. Oh man, we live in that. In Chicago, you live in that. I have to, literally, meditation has helped me stay grounded and step back from that and do that. Yeah. You have to learn how to do it. Now the thing what I like my seniors, you kind of been forced. Hey, I can't really move like that because my knee's gonna be hurting the next day. So you actually forced to do it. But as a younger person, like we have to literally train the brain to actually slow down. The thing about it with this right here is that you have to stay in the parasympathetic. That's where your body rests, repairs, and digests. There's no secret why everybody in the hospital is laying in beds and they're laying there resting. Get some rest, sleep, because their body is repairing and healing from all the wearing down it does. Like we weren't designed to actually keep going and work off 2 and 3 hours of sleep. You're designed to go to sleep. And if you look at a chart, we need to get about 8 to 9 hours of sleep a day. And if you don't, that's an issue. That's an issue. You gotta sleep. There's no way you can be healthy if you don't sleep. You can eat all the right stuff. You can do all those different things. You gotta sleep. So, but mental health is a big one. Now we got people that suffer from a lot of depression. I've seen more bipolar, more manic depression, more all these different things because people they're so stuck on certain ways that we just don't know how to live and flow and be able to change. One thing in life that's current is it's got to change. It's not always going to work out, and I'm starting to learn that. As a type A personality, boom, all these different things. And my story with that too is I didn't know that I actually had a lot of the symptoms of depression until I sat in a conference on a panel, and the lady, I felt like she was talking to me. I was like, oh my God. And I was wondering why I was like feeling like certain ways. And I was thinking like, I just got to keep pushing, right? And instead of things, I had to make some changes. And actually you had to look, I have to stop stress. From that day, I closed all those other offices and I kept the original office. That's why I'm here right here today. That's why I wrote that book, Overlooked. I was overlooked as a health professional. I'm running 5Ks and doing all, thinking I'm health. And I start losing plugs of hair. And I'm going to arguing with the barber. Man, you ain't clean your clippers. Oh, man, I got all this stuff. Now I got the fresh fade. I ain't got no stress. I don't do stress. That's 2 things I don't do. I don't do stress and I don't do stupidity. I just can't deal. Like, I learned that and I'm very clear on that. So one of the things it is we got to learn how to manage our mental health. Turn off social media. Take breaks. Take a week sabbatical from social media. Don't look at Facebook. Don't check your emails. That's one of the reasons why when we go on vacation stuff, I like to go somewhere international. Because don't call me, don't ask. I like to just decompress and I come back, I'm charged. So you have to learn how to disconnect and we have to do that more. The third solution is we got to enjoy a variety of nutritious foods. Like we got to do sugar, we got to eat real food. McDonald's is not real food. If you get something that can stay in your trunk for 3 years,
Yeah, right.
and then everything you eat is going to help you cell function or do it. Now, on a cellular level, this is so vital because you feed your cells. And when cells are not working in a small area and that turns into a big area, that's going to affect that whole organ, which is made of nothing but cells. That's why you got to put the right things in your body to do it. We eat well. Number one thing when I talk about heart disease, you got to eat less salt. How many of y'all salt your food before you eat it? How many of y'all know people to do that? I ain't gonna put nobody on the spot. Oh, everybody go ahead. I was telling people at lunch, and the first thing they do, got some pepper, and then they start taking. I'm like, man, like this is really serious. This is not a game. The salt game is real, right? And so we look at these different things. We got to replace unhealthy fats with healthy fats. Reducing saturated and trans fats. You got a lot of places now they're taking trans fats out of foods. But what's an example of a bad fat? Give me an example of a bad fat.
Bacon.
Corn oil.
Corn oil, yes. What's another one? Canola oil. What's another one? Is something that y'all? Lard. Oh my goodness. And
Crisco.
Lard, Crisco, butter, certain types of butter. You know, these are bad fats. Even certain different other things, the stuff we fry foods in, certain fats that comes out of meats, or we get certain cholesterols from the plaques in the arteries. Now, what's an example of a good healthy fat? Avocado. One of the best things you can do. Peanuts. We got almonds back there. Those are good ones. Those are good fats, but you got to still have those in moderation. You don't want to have too many of those either. So when you buy almonds, right, the bag, don't eat the whole bag on the way home. Look, if it says right there, it's usually say like, don't eat no more than 10, 6, you know, stuff like that. You got to really follow that. You can actually cause yourself more damage. Limit the alcohol. If you're going to do it, I don't recommend drinking alcohol every day, but limit it. You know, start. If you're a heavy drinker, limit it to 2 drinks. If you drink 2 drinks, limit it to 1. Not saying you can't have it. There's nothing wrong with just sitting down and having a nice drink or a glass of wine every now and then. But the problem is when we get drunk. Drunkenness, when you can't make that. That's what the police say. Are you drunk? And you glass this low, you blow through that thing, right? So that's one of the things. And then that's also high in saturated fat, which is a bad fat. Also, limit a beverage other than water to 1 time a day. That's heavy. Some of y'all, them Pepsis, y'all cringing. The Diet Coke is worse than the real Coke, right? So also eliminate dairy, organic, raw, with the exception. If you're gonna do any kind of dairy, let it coconut milk, the almond milk. You got rice milk. You got all these different other things now that are really good. Just get a good organic source. See what's happening, and people are starting to go towards that direction now. So now you start getting people starting to mass produce it, and you don't know what you're getting. So make sure it's organic. Probably don't mean that much to people. Look for good sources. Go to some healthier stores. Go to some different places. Artificial sweeteners, stay away from them. Neurotoxins. Don't put sweetened sugar and all that, sweetened low and all that stuff in there and all different kinds of sugars. Try to just get away from that and do natural stuff like agave. Eliminate added salt, refined sugar, trans fats, saturated fats. And the big one is grains. Why grains? Why grains? Why do I talk about grains so much?
It inflames you.
Gluten. Yes, gluten. Gluten is a glue. It's an inflammatory product. You got certain foods like nightshade vegetables called lectins that actually can cause inflammation. Some people are sensitive to them, some people are not. 80% of the population has some sensitivity to gluten, but they just don't show it. They might show it in other ways. But that gut health is very important. And grains, the way they do it now, they homogenizing it so it's not even the same. If you got prime, look at a thing called grains or gluten. Limit grains to a small serving a day. That's like organic rice or oatmeal. And the best time to eat any kind of carbs or stuff like that is in the morning because you'll burn it off if you do. Other thing I would say too, I'm a big fan of is intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting, my best recommendation and one of the things that I recommend a lot to a lot of people if you want to lose weight and kind of maintain a certain weight style is you eat within an 8-hour period what you would normally eat all day, and then you fast for 16 hours. So guess what? If people say 16 hours, if you look, 8 of them hours you should be asleep anyway. Right? And then the other 8 hours you just skip breakfast and you're already there. You just eat from 12 to 8. So I try not to eat after 8 o'clock. That's why I eat all day. I don't eat after 8 o'clock. You sleep better. You got all these different things. That's a big one that I think. And there's other ways to do it too. Now, the fourth solution is to stay physically active. Now, one of the things that I say, the American Heart Association recommends at least 150 hours of cardiovascular exercise. Cardiovascular, aerobic, or anaerobic exercise. Aerobic is where you actually working the heart muscle. The heart is a muscle. If you don't work it, it's actually going to get weaker. And so when you exercising, cardio meaning what? Heart. What does that do for you? It helps the blood flow. You're pumping that, you're working that muscle, it's getting that blood circulating and all these things. Now, walking with your girlfriends is good, but is that considered exercise? Y'all walking, that's more therapy. I need to see some sweat. I need to see some bubbles of sweat on that forehead. That top lip gotta shake a little bit. You know, you gotta kind of get it moving. And that's one of the things where you gotta get your heart rate up. That's why high intensity interval training is so important. You have to make sure that you actually get your heart rate up and letting it come back down. Heart rate variability is the new thing now, how we're testing the function of the heart as physicians. And that's how you can test how your heart goes up and it comes back down, and if it's certain levels, and then you got your resting heart rate. Your resting heart rate is if you sit there and count your heartbeats for a minute, a good resting heart rate would be like 60. That means your heart is healthy because it's relaxed. And then when it needs to function, it can. You get these elite athletes that run marathons, they're dropping to the 50s and 40s. Yeah. Mine is in the 50s now, so one of the things I try to do is to keep it that way, but that's just one factor of many. So you want to look at getting those tests done. The other thing is maintaining and achieving a healthy weight. Now, thick is okay. Thick is not the new sexy, okay? Lean is the new sexy. You gotta lose some weight. People, as a thing, we gotta lose some weight. I just can't put it no other way. The lap band is not gonna do it, right? The gastric bypass is not gonna do it. You can't live off a spoonful of this. You need a coach. You need somebody that can actually help you, to actually take you by the hand and say, look, eat this, don't eat that. If you don't, there's programs, people are selling that stuff all over the place. Go to somebody you trust and you feel good. Listen to your body, but you got to maintain that healthy heart rate. That reduces the risk of heart disease and so many other problems just by keeping a body mass index and your waist measurements. One of the things that I just did a health tip on, there's a thing. It's called a waist to hip ratio. When you're talking about the waist, you're talking about right below the waist. You feel your top of your ribs, and then you go around that waist right there. You measure that, and then you measure the top of the hips, right here at the hips. Most people, the top of their hips is wider. Their waist is wider than their hips, especially in men. That six-pack that was up here, that dropped down here. You gotta watch that, right? So you gotta come pushing out. So you gotta get that down. One of the things that we have to do is we gotta change the way we gotta really attack that aggressively. Women, you look at this right here, and there's a formula where you divide the two and what it should be. And if it's not, that means that you actually have a higher body mass index. And if I took your body fat percentage, we would tell that will be higher. A good healthy body fat percentage would be anything less than 20. BMI will be anything less than 25. Body mass index. Body mass index doesn't typically work well for muscular people that are naturally built. And that's one of the things where you want to make sure that you actually look at your body fat percentage. Body fat percentage is the fat in here, the visceral fat. That's the dangerous fat that'll kill you. That's why I talk about that so much. Now, the other thing we're looking at right here is that everybody wants to shine like a diamond, right? I saw y'all, sometimes we had a nice phone event, you pull out your minks, you roll up, and then you come in here, your Gucci bags, and what's that Abe's telling me, Birkins and all the stuff and everybody doing now, the red bottoms, all these different, it's expensive things. But then they look at their health, their blood pressure, they taking all these pills, got bad credit, all these different things. So we gotta look at these different things. Everybody wants to be a diamond, but they don't want to be cut like one. You gotta do the work. I just gave you a lot of information to do the work. And all you got to do is just put one thing into play and do a little bit every day. Yeah. And I'm not saying you got to wake up, but you got to wake up, pick up that pallet, and be healthy. It's exciting. It starts here. I can't help anybody that actually don't think they're going to get better. I was at a nursing home, right? And I used to go to the nursing home in Victory Center over in Country Club Hill. When I first started in practice, I would go there twice a week during the break. And there was this lady in there in a wheelchair, the most negative person you ever wanted to meet. And then her brother was in there, and he was dementia. That was the happiest dude ever. Right? But he was walking around healthy. His mouth was going. But the lady's so negative. She would not get by. I said, why do you come in here and see me? Like one day I was like, man, if this lady come in here one day like this. And she just so negative, she never got better. And I really was a clear distinction for me that your mind plays a part in it. You gotta see yourself better before you actually do it.
Yeah.
You gotta see yourself walking that mile, walking around the park without stopping before that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Not stopping. And that's one of the things that we gotta do, the small stuff to do it. So one of the things that we do in here is you create your own health goals. So if you're 60, what do you want to be like when you're 90?
Alive.
Some people ain't even thought about it. Nah, you want to be doing more than that, right? Yeah. What do you want
My telephone number.
This is the thing. This is the reality of it.
And not in no
You plan
damn
for
nursing
retirement,
home.
right? You say, oh, I got my Social Security, I got my pension, I got a little annuity coming in, I got this amount of money coming in, I can live off of this. But nobody thinks about their health when they're 90. Think about like, man, I want to be walking at 90. I want to be able to wipe my own butt at 90.
Me too.
I don't want nobody taking care of me.
Yeah.
Like my goal is I have vision of taking my great grandkids to Disneyland and still riding roads, still walking around.
Oh my goodness.
Still like, man, what's up? What we doing?
Yeah.
Like, what's up? So that's the vision I have created myself. Because this is the way life works. If you don't aim for something, it's like the wind. You just blowing. Then here come diabetes. Oh, they said I got sugar. Now I start calling you Sugarfoot, right? Then they got all this other stuff coming up. They said this happens. So you gotta plan for it, and we gotta go towards it. You got no better person than not too long to take you by the hand and to help you to get there. Okay? And so just don't take that lightly. But you gotta do the work to get that, because that diamond went through a lot of pressure to get that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? But at the end of the day, so everybody wants to shine like a diamond. I'm gonna turn this up. So number one thing with that right here, that what I'm offering today is a chance for you to actually take help. If you're not a patient here today, we're offering a wellness consultation, a doctor's x-ray, and then one x-ray and a report of findings to go over that. And I'm doing that for just $50. And what I'll do today, if you do that, I'll actually give you a copy of my book, Overlooked, and how I'm still standing here today. And so what that happens is I'll go over and tell you what you need to do, so at least you know where you are. Because guess what? It's 2019 right now. It's 2020, I'm sorry. It's no excuse no more.
Yeah.
You ain't gotta pull up the encyclopedia, man, ain't coming by. Like now you can Google stuff on your phone. Now, all y'all got smartphones pretty much. There are a couple people here got the dinosaur that flip, but you can Google stuff now and you can actually look and say, okay, what do I need to do? Like there's no excuse no more. There's no excuse for you not to do what you need to do and be where you need to be. Right. But one thing it's me that you can always count on me about is telling you the truth. I'm very big on integrity. And so with that right there, if I can't help you, I'll tell you. But if I can, I will. And if you decide not to go with me, I'll say, hey, at least you know where you stand.
Right.
But don't come in and expect me to work a miracle because you didn't listen to what I'm saying the first time. And I've been doing this long enough now that I'm starting to see people 2 and 3 times. Oh yeah, I still, I just ain't doing it. Make a decision, commit. Because what's going on? Your hesitancy not to do this is showing up somewhere else in your life. If you just commit to one thing, your whole life is gonna change.
Wow.
That's the only way that you're gonna get to the next level.
Wow.
Now, can I get amen?
Amen.
Amen. And out. And out.
Now with that right there, I'll just open it up for questions. If you want to get a glass of wine, I think we still got over there. Just limit it to 2. And then if you are interested, see
See, I didn't get a full cup.
That's all.
My Adrian and my vegetables.
But thank y'all for coming, and God bless you. Thank you so much. All right.
Very good.
All right.
Oh, God.
You gotta do it.
You take care. You too.
Not my favorite.
I'm no better. Okay, cause she know it looks like
Where were you at? Way in? What is it? Okay. Really? You see what's stopping them smoking and all that sugar? Huh? 4 days this week. I thought you was gonna say a couple of weeks, and I'm gonna say that is not true.
I know, but
Phase always with a spine is just fused together. You're not a phase, so I can tell. Yeah, because the way you got up and stuff, like most people they're gonna get up, they need a walk. Or that's the people. I rarely take those cases if I feel like I need to.
I see. I don't know. All that conversation, I want to get the chance to change my
Yeah, it works.
I said, no more wine, you not gonna have more. We ain't been for the juice. So what does that name mean? Wow. You don't even know? You better find that out. Somebody gonna ask you. You know somebody gonna ask you. I mean, that sounds Swahili, so I'm just kind of figuring out what it might mean.
Like that? I was just like, man, like, at least turn your phone off, let's be present.